Hello, people. How's it going? Yeah. Anyway, um, it's supposed to rain today, but it never did. But anyway, the windows are closed. So, but anyway, today's idea: study of history should be a challenge, and it should be a challenge. History should be fun. It should also be a search for answers, truth. But I like history. I find it a challenge. I find it interesting. I've always found history fascinating. I mean, ever since my freshman year in high school, Mr. Cyrus's class, I have been an amateur historian since day one. I love it. I mean, I love studying human nature. That to me is the challenge of studying history. You are studying human nature, the best of human nature, the worst of human nature, and everything in the middle of human nature. I mean, that really is what history is about. On a grand scale, on a smaller scale, individual lives, groups, well, it's basically the entire planet Earth people. But I like history. I've always enjoyed history. I find it fascinating, interesting. I mean, it is the whys, the whats, the wherefores, when, why. I mean, as I wrote, I have to keep my notes again. Study of history. Why, where, who, when of the story. The human nature is at its best, worst, and in between. Because that is what it is. I mean, some good examples would be, the best of history for people like, Albert Einstein and Albert Schweitzer and Gandhi and people who have done something to better mankind, to improve human life. I mean, there are a lot of good stories out there. I mean, history is full of people you know, but there are also people you don't know until you look for them. I mean, that is kind of the point of human nature in studying history, is to find out why certain people did what they did, why they pursued what they did, where they were, who they were. It is the 5 W's. I mean, it is the 5 W's of history, as I call them, because there were 5 of them. At least last time I checked. I should open the window. Sorry. I guess I need more light than I thought. I didn't want that glare. That's why I closed the windows. I mean, the why of history, the what's of history, where, who. I mean, I have to apologize for my rambling. I'm not. I know what I want to say half the time, but this is new. Talking to extreme is new to me, and really, it still is. Even after 2 years of trying to do this, it's still something I'm not comfortable doing. But I like doing it. That's the funny part. It's like, it's like studying certain aspects of history that are terrible to talk about, like the Holocaust, like the Armenian genocide in Turkey in the early 1900s, or all the other terrible things like the Russians under communism, or the Titanic. I mean, human nature is why I study history. It is the only reason I study history, because human nature fascinates me, even when it pisses me off, even when it bugs me. I mean, I like studying history. I mean, I'm not very good at explaining it. Because I think it's another reason I'm doing this, is I'm trying to get just past writing about it. I want to also talk about it. A lot of ways I'm doing this more or less to improve my own people skills. I have no skills. I have no personal interaction skills. I mean, it's kind of easy to talk to a computer screen when the picture staring back at me is me, which might be part of the problem. I don't trust them. It looks suspicious. I mean, I'm fascinated by human behavior, even when it's just beyond human comprehension. How people can commit crimes like the Holocaust, or how people can commit crimes of any kind of genocide against anybody. I mean, to me, I've always believed this, that if you ever really want to study human nature, study war. Study the conflicts of human conflicts in wartime. Any other conflict, Maybe. But to me, human nature is at its best, worst, and in the middle when people are trying to kill each other or survive from people trying to kill other people. I mean, the World War II fascinates me. I mean, it's probably, if I had to take a list of the top three, probably World War II would be first. Because it was global, of course, hence the word World War III or two. Well, technically it is three. A lot of people consider the 7-Year War as a world war because it literally was a world war, even if it was in the 1700s. Excuse me. But I find World War II fascinating because it literally is the best. People trying to fight against an evil that's trying to destroy the world. The worst. Nazi Germany and Japan, Imperial Japan, and technically, I guess, fascist Italy. Anyway, I mean, in the Holocaust and the genocides and the mass murders of people and civilians, those are the worst. And the things in the middle of the people trying to survive all that. Or if you're Charles Lindbergh, trying to be indifferent to it for a while until you become, well, forced to realize that, well, maybe I shouldn't be indifferent. I mean, I'm fascinated by why certain people did certain things or why they didn't do certain things. Human nature to me is just, I know I keep repeating it, but I think that's why people don't like history. They don't seem to understand or grasp that it literally is a study of human nature. It is a study of being human on this screwed up little planet of ours. I mean, was it right or wrong to drop the A-bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Well, it ended the war, but does that make it right? Well, that's a debate. That's the good, the bad, and the worst of people right there. I mean, a lot of people do not forgive America for doing this. And do they have a point? I don't know. I think they have a point, but I also think that those people also don't seem to understand that the Truman administration wanted to end the war. If we had to invade Japan, we might still be there. Because the Japanese aren't going to exactly just hand in their swords and their weapons and everything else. Say, okay, we surrender. That's not the Japanese mentality. The only reason they surrendered was the emperor told them time to surrender. But I mean, it's fascinating the dynamics of the common man, the common person during the war, and the soldier fighting the war, and the politicians and the politics in the war. And no, I am not an FDR fan. I have read enough books to think that FDR was a politician first and foremost, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, just leave it at that for the moment. But I mean, all the political concepts aside, why did he do what he did? Why did he do? Why did he not do what he did? Why didn't he do something? Basically, and that's another part of my problem is I talk too fast and my brain's going too fast. But history, to me, is studying just not dates, and I think that's why it bores people. I think that's why some people get bored with history. Is they're just taught names and dates and places, and that's all there is to it. And they're not taught anything else. Today is the anniversary of the Battle of Waterloo. They probably will, most people know that Waterloo was Napoleon's defeat by Wellington, and that's probably the only thing they know. They really don't know what led up to it. They really don't know what happened after it, really. They don't know the carnage of that battle on this date. I mean, I know I keep repeating myself, but to me, history has so many nuances and so many stories and so many things left unknown. Oh boy. Anyway, I'm tired, people. It's been a long week. And sometimes my brain and what I'm coming out of my mouth are two different things. But I know what I mean when I think I said what I don't. Anyway. It's root beer, it's not beer. Anyway, I find, as I said, World War II is probably my favorite. The first one I'll always study. The American Civil War will always be my second. And everything else is third. I've covered everything. I'm fascinated. Studying history can be depressing. It can be very, very, very depressing. The Holocaust is depressing. If you're from Armenia or have Armenian relations, the Armenian genocide is depressing. If your family escaped communist China or communist Russia or any other communist country, it's going to be depressing. South Korea or North Korea. South Korea. Oh, excuse me. I really got to stop right here. I'm fascinated by these things. I guess I'm not very good at trying to get my point across that history to me is not boring. There's a point to study it. There's a point in trying to understand it. There's a point to understanding the lies we know a whole lot about, and the lies we don't know a lot about. We know about Patton and MacArthur and Rommel and Monty and Churchill and FDR and de Gaulle. We don't want to forget the French. But we don't really know a whole lot about the common foot soldier or the common anything in the war. Those people are interesting too because they survived. They either survived or didn't survive, and people remember them, like Anne Frank. I don't know. I don't try to think today why I like history so much. I just find it fascinating. The human drama, the heights of human accomplishment, the depths of human depravity, and all those things in the middle. Most things happen in the middle. Most of history happens in the middle. It always has. It always has. Let's see how much time I got. Well, it's almost 15 minutes. I might do another one today on history events of June, just for the fun of it. That's not gonna be a really thing, but anyway. Hopefully this wasn't too bad rambling. I'm trying to get better. I really am trying. I know I try to go slower. I probably should write better notes, or at least longer ones. I have notes. I always do. Just maybe I'm just not writing them long enough. And this chair is going to drive me crazy. It's just not made for how long I sit in it. But, leave comments. Hit that like button. Subscribe, please. Have a good day. Behave yourselves, people, because you know I'm not going to. Later.